Okay, Destiny. So, this is your reading. Sorry, it took me so long. If you can't hear the audio, that's really gonna suck. But I'll fix that if that does happen. So, gonna try and blow through this, not like freaky fast, just to the point. So, and I pulled out I used a different deck, but I pulled out the cards that the book that I was using for the layout, the rider cards, so you could see like what they're talking about in the sense of how the card is designed. So, this is a 4 elements layout. 12 cards, 4 elements, obviously. Each one represented by a different suit. As I've put over here on the side, there's a little cheat sheet for you. The earth, air, fire, and water, what they represent symbolically, and then the suit that's represented by them too. So it's foolproof. So don't fuck this up. All right. So you had mentioned that you had some kind of like concern or curiosity about a certain male in your life. So I just kind of ran with that. It always seems to be something with you, and oh, should it be this guy? Is it worth it? Whatever. Typical Dest. So I just kept you in mind really, and thought about the question. Not too hard, just pretty much as you described it to me. So, and this is what I got. First off, fire, which, like, it's over here. Fuck, I totally screwed this up how it's all backwards. Fire represents will and inclination of the spirit, and it's represented by the suit of wands. Wands always indicate work. Like, if you were to do just like a regular 3-card spread and you got a bunch of wands in there, you'd have to anticipate some work in the future. But as I was going through this, there's a few things that I actually noticed that I wanted to point out real fast. There's a lot of things in here about materialism and superficiality and just and lying and like pyramid schemes and shit. Like, so it kind of makes me wonder what you're up to, or maybe what your little buddy's up to or something. But it sounds like there's fucking tomfoolery going up in here. But we'll get there. So we're going to start with the first one, which is the Page of Pentacles. And it looks like this. Okay. And the sentence for that, instead of like a big ass, description, I broke it down into 3-part sentences. The benevolent girl or child. So this will be up for your more so interpretation, but this is what I got. So the benevolent girl or child perceives with diligence. And it also means natural force and vigor and strength. So, and then the next one is Ace of Wands. Mind you, all of these cards were right side up. Not a single one of them was upside down. So that's a good thing. The hand holding the wand and the big cloud behind it, it signifies like it's a triumphant thing. So, always a good thing. Now remember how I said that the suit for this particular element was wands? Well, since the first card started off with Page of Pentacles, it kind of swerves the meaning of it, but I'll explain that at the end as well. Lastly, we have a Page of Wands, and that would look like this. And what it means is the daring girl or child imposes with boldness, brilliant, beautiful, loyal, ambitious. So, obviously this is going to have, I'm leaving this up for you to interpret to the depths of things, because I really don't understand really where it's going, other than it might be talking about your daughter. I'm not really sure. But the bright side with this, since it's about, the, strength of will and, the strength of spirit, they're all, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Like king, queen, ace, knight. I can't think of what they're called. But they're all those kinds of cards. They're not numbers or, the world or whatever. They're all, God, that's really going to bother me. I'm going to have to look that up in a second. So, putting it all together, really the benevolent girl or child preserves with diligence, natural force, vigor and strength, and then enterprise begins with creativity, natural force, and strength, and then the daring child or girl imposes with boldness, and brilliant, beauty, and loyal, and ambitious, intense. So, sounds pretty good to me so far. Don't know fully what it means to you. Hopefully it means something. Now we're coming up to the element of air. And air represents intellect, thoughts and speech, expressions of the mind. And the suit for this particular element is swords. And just so you know, this never changes. This isn't just for this layout. This is all the time. So if you can remember this, anytime someone does your cards, you kind of know a little something already about how things are going. Because anytime that you get a sword in anything, it normally means it's got something to do with how you're thinking. So, anyhow, moving on. The first card came up as Knight of Swords, which is a good start. It's also, once again, damn camera. Sorry, my camera sucks. It's, what the fuck is that called? God, that's gonna drive me nuts. Anyhow, sorry. The Knight of Swords. Intellectual youth plans with abstraction. So, it might just be something kind of different, but it also signifies justice, truth, only accomplishes work off pain and sorrow. So, basically kind of gotta go through hell to get through heaven kind of theory is what I'm going with. And then next would be the Ace of Swords. Also super, super good sign that things are going in the right direction for you, at least intellectually. Triumphs over disorganized enemies. And that was, I didn't feel the need to really put anything else in there because it's pretty self-explanatory just right there. Triumphs over disorganized enemies. So therefore your enemies sucked and weren't, didn't have their shit together, and you did. And then finally we end with 7 of Cups. Now this meanders off from the swords, the thought. Cups represent emotion, typically of love. It's a loving type thing. So, but we got 7 of Cups. And this is what it looks like. And what it means, unfortunately, is with unfulfillment, the consequence of vain expectations. This is where things start to get funky. Like, this is where I started seeing some strange things, like a bunch of superficiality and stuff like that, because I know that you're not that type of person. So either you're up to some weird shit, and I would blame Florida, or your dude or someone else that this resonates with you with is up to some odd things. Also, a little side note about that 7 of Cups. Empty hopes, unrealistic dreams, get-rich-quick schemes, and misplaced trust. Oh, and that's another thing I kept running into is like lies and distrust and dishonor and stuff. So if this all is about you deciding about that guy, long story short, I'll save you to the end of the video. I would just say no, definitely not. But if it's not, I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Moving on to Earth. Now, Earth, it's going to signify the nature of your body, circumstances, and your strengths and weaknesses. Now, nature of the body, like how you actually are doing physically, vitality-wise. And we start with 10 of Swords. Now, this goes off the beaten path with the traditional Pentacles that Earth represents. And it starts off with this. 10 of Swords. Now, swords, remember, they represent the mind. So, ruin caused by a fatal flaw in the plan. Now, I don't know what you're scheming up to or whatever, but yeah, there's apparently a pretty fatal flaw in whatever was planned or is to be planned. So, and then also I wrote down here, because it was offsuit, failure, defeat, collapse of unrealistic projects, desolation, and a fatal flaw, also known as a hamartia. So that's something to keep in mind. And then next we have King of Pentacles. Awesome card. Look at him, just sitting on his throne, all fat and happy. And what it signifies: labors through instinct rather than understanding. So it's going more off of a vibe as opposed to a thought. Like, you get a feeling in your stomach about something, which is actually kind of funny, because, me hitting you up on this particular day, and it's the King of Pentacles. Normally these cards, it's not coincidental normally who or what is on them, because even the characteristics to the hair, what they're doing, they normally signify someone in your life, or metaphorically something that you can trace it back to if it is something more symbolic. But typically, like a page or a knight will represent a young man or a child, but a king obviously would be an older gentleman, say a dad or a grandfather or something like that. Same thing with Page and then Queen and so on and so forth. Sorry, I got a little off track there. And then we got the Nine of Pentacles. And this one is a woman. And she's just kind of like basking in her, just kind of happy, basking in her own little bounty. But it doesn't mean something so well. With possessiveness, delighting in the use of wealth. But, oh wait, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I got this one wrong. It also signifies inheritance, accomplishments, well-being, costly possessions, and popularity. So, I would read this off literally as, okay, well, the nature of your body, and then circumstances and strengths and weaknesses. Don't try to make any Faustian plans or get-rich-quick schemes, because they're all going to fuck up and bust. And they will collapse because they're unrealistic. They have a fatal flaw in it from the get, so just don't. And then you would rather, it's suggesting that you rather labor through instinct rather than something you understand. So something that's drawing you in as opposed to something that you know how to do. Because in the end, yes, even with possessiveness and, delighting in the use of wealth, it's kind of a fancy way of saying that, you're kind of being a spoiled brat. But you earned it, though. Because the inheritance, accomplishments, well-being, costly possessions, and popularity. Now, that's also a warning, though. I'm going to tell you that from personal experience. The more money, more problems. As you remember, when I had my inheritance, everybody wanted to be my buddy. So, if that has anything similar to that, you know how that story goes. Moving on, lastly, to water. Water represents emotion, and it is represented by cups, the suit of cups, always. Now, unfortunately, not a single card came up as a cup. So, kind of assuming your emotions are probably all fucked up and all over the place, per usual. It wouldn't be destiny if it wasn't you, or, if it wasn't all messed up and discombobulated. So, we start off with the Eight of Swords. Now, remember what I said about swords? It's about how you are thinking. And what I'm guessing is that, well, what it says for it, interference in an important matter by countless minor concerns. Unfocused distractions, countless concerns. So whatever you're thinking about emotion-wise, especially if it's love-based, you got mad fucking issues. Like, you are thinking way too much about it. And either you need to, and you should just nix the idea, or you don't, and you're overreacting. And moving on. But you see how she's wrapped up. Oh shit, stupid camera. She's got the swords behind her, and she's tied up, and she's blindfolded. She's lost. And, I mean, shit, I wouldn't want to be her. That sucks. Next, we have the Eight of Wands. Now, Wands goes back to fire, which is actually your element, because you're a Leo. So, this is talking about your spirit and your will. looks like 8 of Wands. And it conveys the intention successfully to its destination. It's, once again, it's hard work that wins the race. Slow and steady. Swift communication, confidence, freedom, and traveling by air. There's actually 2 things in here that talk about travel. So, I'm kind of curious. I hope that means you're coming to visit my ass for a change. And lastly, we have the 6 of Pentacles. And we remember that Pentacles deals with air. I'm sorry, earth. God, I'm retarded. Nature of the body. Circumstance. Inner strength or weakness, or both. With particularly giving or withholding accord to need. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me reread that. That just didn't sound right. With particularly giving or withholding according to need. Giving or withholding according to need. You might be being selfish, or someone else might be being selfish. Like they might be holding on to it, to whatever it is. If it's circumstance, it could be material possessions. Normally, Pentacles do represent possessions and material bullshit. So yeah, you could it could be you, it could be someone else. I don't know. This is up for you to decide. But you could be holding on to something just because, like, you're afraid that it's gonna go away, or you're not too easy on letting it go, whatever it is. And then it also notes authority, nobility, rule, material success, gifts, gratification, and sound judgment. You can't beat it. Sound judgment. Personally, what that tells me is that even in your emotional state, you don't really have time to feel loving emotions. You're still too fucked up with other things. Like, your mind is somewhere else. You're constantly worried about something. And then, your spirit and your will is obviously being tested. But it's a good thing, because it means that you're working towards whatever you're working towards, like your goal. Through hard work, you will get there. It's a guarantee. Like, never fails. And then finally, we got Pentacles, which is, the earth, and how you are health-wise. Your strengths and weaknesses. Like, try not to be too materialistic, I would say. Also, but then again, it's also, it looks like you're rocking shit by yourself. Like, you don't really need anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need nobody. I do this all by myself. And that doesn't surprise me, because that's kind of how things have always been. Like, I remember back in the day, once upon a time, when you had your own, like, you were holding it down for you and someone else. So, I don't know. That wouldn't surprise me if that's still how things are. Especially now that you have your own child, So, and then I also pulled a card. I fucked up and I forgot to write it down, but I did write down the meaning. I was curious what your lesson for February should be. Like, something for you to, what you're going to take the most from, like, what you're going to get out of February. And what it said was a journey, escaping bad situations and entering good ones. And it also mentions travel. So I don't know if you have some travel plans that you neglected to tell me about or have yet even made, but it seems like somewhere in there it's in the cards, literally. And I mean, ultimately, it's mind you, I did this twice. The first set of answers that I got, I mean, it was all the same cards, but the first set of answers that I got, they just kind of didn't make sense. So I went back and reread it and realized that I was fucking it up. And it never hurts to double check. So, just looking at these real fast, just some things to point out. Almost all of these cards, they're singular. What I mean by that is like there's either one man, one woman, excuse me, but then this like Seven of Cups. Now, if it were reversed, it would definitely be talking about disillusionment, and that would probably have something to do with the Pisces shit going on right now. But it's not, so that was the bright side. Cups can get into like whimsical like desires and shit. And then Ten of Swords, being stabbed in the back. And then, you know, being the king of your game. And then basking in it. All happy and shit. And then, but you still got some shit on your mind. And it ain't cool. You don't like it. Fuck that. But with hard work and perseverance, you shall get there. And finally, you know, you can spread the wealth. So, I hope that I was able to do something for you there. If not, then hey, fuck it. It was I kind of figured that symbolically, it was an odd landmark. I know that, you know, with the passing of your dad and all, 21 years. It only seemed right to do a spread that was 12 cards, you know, just flip the numbers. So, anyhow, I am going to end this at 29 minutes pretty much. So, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Give me your feedback. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about it. If it even resonates with you, which I'm sure it will, obviously, because there's a lot of things in it that I see that remind me of you. So, anywho, I'm off to YouTube to go do my horoscope thing. Love you.